Hello and welcome developers. My name is Shay and this is another episode of Shay Develops. Today we're going to be talking about the try-catch statement in Java. And this allows us to run some code, and if there's an error or if, for some reason, like some kind of an exception gets thrown for a user enter wrong data input type or something like that, we can get that error and we don't have to just totally crash the program itself. So it's pretty basic syntax. It's literally just try catch within some curly braces, but they allow us to, like I said, do quite a bit. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to make this a little bigger so you guys can see. Go ahead and get rid of this little line. All right, so like I said, basically it's just try and then catch. But within this catch, we want to get an exception, right? So we could use an exception E and just do something like E.print stack trace if it fails, okay? So for here, this is where we do some stuff. So say we wanted to get some data from a user or do some type of division arithmetic where you can't divide by 0. And if you do divide by 0, you get an issue. So without this, let's go ahead and just comment this out just for a second. And let's do int data equals 52 divided by 0, which is not allowed. And then we output data and we run this. We're going to get an error. It says right here, arithmetic exception, which is part of the the main exception class. We have several. We have IO exception, invalid input, parameters, like all kinds of different ones. And we're gonna go over a few because you can chain these catch statements to look for different exceptions to throw an error message rather than just like totally crash your system, right? So let's try and print out this stack trace right here from what we're doing within this int data. So let's uncomment that. We're going to print this. And because data right here, if you're wondering why this is red, it's because we're trying to use data within this try. If I wanted to, I could instantiate it here. And that would allow me to use it in here and then pull it out in here. But it's also saying it might not be initialized because of if this try doesn't work, it goes right down here to the catch. So we'll just go ahead and get rid of that for now. All right, let's go ahead and run it again. And we're going to get an exception, but it's going to tell us it's the arithmetic exception and give us, because we cannot divide by 0. We can see that right there. So that's pretty cool. So we could change this from exception to arithmetic exception. And we could just, instead of E.print stack trace, we could write our own little custom message here. The math equation, well, see here. There was something wrong with your math. Please try again. Okay. So now we can do that and it'll pass that arithmetic expression, but let's make it a little more interesting. Let's do a scanner. And if you don't know what scanner is, that's where you can basically get data from the user, based off what they input, via their keyboard, and then we can use that data to do something. So let's have them enter in two numbers, and then throw an exception if they don't enter in a number, and then do the math if they can, and then throw an exception if the arithmetic exception, which we're already doing right here. Throw that exception if the math can't be done. So I did make a video on the scanner class. So if you haven't watched that, you can go back and watch that. It's pretty simple though. We're just going to create a scanner object, and we're going to actually add int, actually data x, y. There we go. And that's a shortcut to allow us to add multiple different integer variables that we can then use without just all on one line without having to create like multiple lines for that. So all right, so let's go ahead and do the stuff, right? So we're going to do x, actually this could input, please enter a number. And you're going to do x equals scanner dot get, oh sorry, next int, there we go. And that's going to get the next integer value that they input. And then we'll do please enter a second number. And we'll do y equals scanner dot next int. And then we'll do data equals x divided by y. And we'll do a little message here. All right, so now we have a couple things going on. We're going to run this, and we can have a few different exceptions come about. So first, we're going to run it. We're going to pass in some real data just to make sure that it works. That works good because remember we're working with integers, so if we're trying to divide 456 into 52, which is like a fraction of a number, and that is just going to be 0 because this is an integer and not like a double or something. Okay, so that looks like it's working fine. Run it one more time, and now let's mess up and just put in some numbers here. Now we see we have another input mismatch exception, which we could then come in here within our catch and write another catch for an input mismatch exception, IME and then we could just be like, and we could do please input a numbers only, and that'll still like crash my program. Like I won't be able to go for anything after this, but you could technically run a function up here if it gets an input mismatch exception. You can put it in here to rerun that function again. And you could also, like I said, again, do IME dot print stack trace, and that'll basically print this out right here that's in red down on the bottom within my run command, or within the command line that's running our program. But I'm not going to do that now. I'm just going to erase them. We're just going to have these two. So now if I get either of these exceptions, something will happen. So now instead of a number, I just ASDF, and it says, see, please input numbers only, and I don't get that big nasty red stack trace that your users definitely don't need to see. So you can use this to pass data on your Java FX forms or screens or whatever else you're going to try to do, or even within, if you're writing a command line application, you can do that as well. So that's how to use that. There's also a little bit more to these try catches. The last part of the try catch, you can use the finally keyword, and this is going to run anything that it's going to run automatically at the end of this try catch. So I could do something, or just print out a message to all you Rick and Morty fans out there. Finally, brah. There you go. And this is going to get ran regardless if this catches an exception or doesn't. And the other thing we want to do is do scanner.close and close our thread scanner, so that way it's not staying open. after we've run this and we no longer need it. So let's run this again. So again, I can just put in some information and see it says please input numbers only, and then finally, bruh, whenever we get to our finally statement within this try catch. All right, so now let's go ahead and run it again one last time. So we're going to enter in a number. I'm going to enter in a number that can't be divided by. And then now, let's see, it skips the input mismatch exception because it got this stuff, it got the data type that it wanted, but it still had an issue trying to divide by 0. So it says there was something wrong with your math, please try again. And then, of course, it ran the finally statement at the end. So one last time, I'm going to run it with some actual stuff that we can do. So 450 divided by 50 should give me 9, which it does right there. Make that a little bigger. Gives me 9. And then again, even though it totally completed, it ran our finally statement like it should, because that is going to get ran regardless of whatever happens at the end. Alright guys, that is it for this try catch video. I've got another one coming out shortly. It's going to be try catch with resources, which works a little differently. Basically, it's trying the resources. It's just a little different syntax, but I'll be making a video on that, guys, coming up shortly. But hopefully you guys learned something today. I'd appreciate it if you did. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you guys are working on. Tell me how I can help you be a better developer. And I will see you guys in the next video. Keep being awesome, and check out my new upcoming content. There's going to be some really good stuff coming out in the future. Peace.